Hello and welcome. You have accessed Renegade Files, your underground connection to paranormal adventures, unsolved mysteries, and covert culture. You are now in the company of outcasts. I'm your host, Lex Gordon, reaching across the ether from the Jungle Villa outpost, deep in the uncharted tropics. This is Renegade Files episode 127, Unscripted from the Edge, Paranormal News Today. On this episode of Renegade Files, we return to the unscripted format as I bring you 9 stories of paranormal and high strangeness current events. There's a lot going on in the worlds of weirdness right now, and when I was thinking of doing this episode, it occurred to me that we've done one like this not too long ago, but when I actually looked, that episode was episode 112, and it was back on February the 12th when we did the Unscripted from the Edge episode about the Epstein file document drop and Nancy Guthrie and Bad Bunny Super Bowl hijinks, all of that. So that was 15 episodes ago. Can you believe it? And not that these come in any kind of order or pattern, but that's long enough ago that it's time for a new one. These looser, off-the-cuff episodes always get good feedback, and they're fun to make, so I hope you're ready for one. It gives me a chance to look across a wide range of topics, sort of climb out of the cave here and see what's going on in the wide world. And it's always a fun kind of episode to do. So the basic format is I'm going to go through some articles and news feed links that I have and some highlight stories that I've cherry picked for us today, all current. And it also gives me a chance to sort of check in with you, give you some information, and take the time to reflect on what I'm doing. So again, welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. And let's dive right into Unscripted from the Edge. Paranormal News Today. So forgive a bump or a click here as I jump around. First of all, I want to say you have to go check out the Renegade Files shop. You can find it through a link at therenegadefiles.com. There's a link at the top and a button on the main page that says shop, and it'll take you right to our store. You can also find a link straight to the shop from the show notes, wherever you're listening to the podcast. And I want you to go there because we have new, very cool merchandise. It's all priced to be fun to buy. I'm just trying to get the merchandise out there for the fun of it. So the hats are looking so good. They have the new fully embroidered logo on them, the UFO triangle logo. That's our classic. And they don't say anything on them other than the logo says Renegade Files. So there's no website on it. There's not a lot of ads on it. It's just a cool looking sort of piece of underground paranormal gear, right? In a world of corporate clothing, this is some underground stuff. You can represent your paranormal prowess on the street. And I've got a new shirt that has the, it's got the alien head on the front, which is a classic. People love that. That sort of left chest sort of logo spot. So our little alien friend head on the front. And on the back, it has a big Renegade Files logo in all of its beautiful triangular glory. And underneath it, it has the text and typewriter text that says, broadcasting from the Jungle Villa outpost, deep in the uncharted tropics. So that's sort of for people that are in the know of the podcast. Go check that one out. It's available in, I don't know, 10 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know, 14 colors. White, gray, black, purple, pink, green, seafoam green, sort of a Kelly green. I mean, just gorgeous. Cool stuff. Very high quality. And you can read all about it in the store. So the other one that I'm really excited about is our newest shirt beyond that, which is the Renegade Files Tarot Adventure Tee. This has a really cool design on the back that is reminiscent of a tarot card. and it says Renegade Files Podcast, Paranormal Adventures, Unsolved Mysteries, Covert Culture. You got the All-Seeing Eye, you have some pentagrams, some candles, some books with a skull on it, some UFO in the background, a haunted house. It's sick. You just got to see it. It's so cool. I worked on it for a couple days, and it just came out great. It was everything that I was trying to accomplish, I was able to pull off in that design. And it was so cool that I actually made a poster of it. So the poster is that same image, and it's available in 3 sizes: 12 by 18, 20 by 30, or 24 by 36, the real big one. It's archival quality G-clay. I'm not sure if that's how you say that, but I think print. It's a matte finish, so it doesn't like reflect the light. It looks really dazzlingly detailed, and a beautiful piece of super weirdo paranormal art for your office, home, apartment, or your secret laboratory. So go check that out. We also have pint glasses, a frosted one and a clear one. We have a coffee mug that you can get in 2 sizes, t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve t-shirt in our sort of classic Woodlake Paranormal tee. I don't know, you just got to see it. It's super cool, very minimal design, but representing the paranormal on the street. That sort of ends my ad for the shop, but I would love it if you would go check it out. I put a lot of work and effort into making cool stuff, and more cool stuff on the way. Peruse through the products there and grab some Renegade Files gear. Okay, so let's check out our stories. We're just going to go left to right. I haven't saved these in any order. So the first one is really cool. Scientists investigate quantum consciousness, but the brain may still defy physics. This is from the debrief.org, and it's under the title Breaking News Consciousness Science. So the idea is that, and so this is a breaking news, sort of a scientific news, let's say, I'm going to rewind here a minute. Not rewind, but I want to go back to the source of this. Oh, okay. Tim McMillan. This is May 13th, 2026. A breaking scientific article. The idea is that human consciousness might arise from this odd quantum phenomena that has intrigued scientists, philosophers, and writers, inspiring debate about whether the hard problem of consciousness could be explained by quantum effects. Now, if you've listened to this show for a while, or if you're into weirdness, you know a lot about, or at least a little about quantum, the sort of quantum realm, that the basic idea is that small things don't act like big things, but that big things are made of small things. And this dilemma has perplexed physicists and scientists going all the way back to Einstein's time. A sweeping new review published in Frontiers in Psychology takes a hard look at the field and concludes that though quantum theories of consciousness are becoming more experimentally grounded, none have cleared the enormous scientific obstacles required to explain subjective experience. And this becomes the dilemma. A paper authored by Zun Ma and Apong Wang of Xiamen University in China evaluates some of the most prominent quantum consciousness theories using 3 key lenses: whether the proposed quantum effects can physically exist in the brain, whether they actually explain consciousness experience philosophically, and thirdly, whether they can be experimentally tested against conventional neuroscience models. The researchers argue that many discussions related to quantum consciousness rely more on emotional rhetoric than one measurable science. So that's fair. I like to see a little scientific approach into the sort of, what did Einstein call it? Spooky action at a distance. He was not a fan. Quantum theoretical terms are often invoked in a largely narrative or analogical matter without specifying their precise physical meaning or empirical applicability. So that's a quote directly from these researchers. They go on to say that the practice often lacks rigorous argumentation, remains insufficiently constrained by clear mechanisms, empirical support, and therefore doesn't provide a substantive solution to the problem of consciousness. So in the past few years, interest in this idea of quantum biology has grown, and some scientists have demonstrated that quantum effects can play functional roles in biological systems, such as photosynthesis and bird navigation. But the leap from quantum chemistry to human awareness continues to remain enormous. So they're just trying to drill this down. Central to the debate is consciousness itself, which remains one of science's most enduring and elusive mysteries. And when you're trying to study consciousness with consciousness, you end up like the analogy which I've mentioned before, the Buddhist analogy of searching for a donkey while you're riding one, or as they say, beating a drum in search of a fugitive. So you're sort of trying to study your brain with your brain, and that always leads to this weird circular loopholes that kind of leave a lot of gaps, let's just say. Neuroscience has become increasingly successful at explaining how the brain processes information, according to this article, how it stores memory and controls behavior. But philosopher David Chalmers famously labeled the easy problems of consciousness, so that's like the information processing, memory storing, behavior. The harder question, though, is why physical processes in the brain produce these subjective experiences, and why they're produced at all. Why does seeing red feel like something? Why is there an inner experience accompanying the thought of red? Is it because we associate it with emergency because that's the what we've put on our signage, or we've associated red with like medical trauma, maybe because of blood? It's these things become deep questions, which maybe there are or are not answers to. Quantum theories try to bridge that gap by proposing that classical neuroscience is insufficient. And so the authors of this study say that there are three major families of theories that currently attract scientific attention. The first is the OR theory, developed by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, proposing that quantum computations occur within microscopic structures within neurons, and these are called microtubules. According to the theory, the quantum collapses inside these structures and it generates moments of consciousness and awareness. The idea has long been controversial because the brain is what they call warm, wet, and noisy, generally considered hostile to fragile quantum states. Physicist Max Tegmark famously argued in 2000 that quantum coherence inside neurons would collapse too far, too quickly for cognition. So if anyone is still listening, oh, wow. Hey, let's chase the world away in the first 5 minutes. This is like 29% listened to. So anyway, scientists investigate quantum consciousness, but the brain may still defy physics. That's the gist of that. It's sort of heady and it's a little nerdy, but it's interesting because it brings together two things that we've talked about on the podcast: this idea of consciousness and exactly what's going on with the experiences that we all have. How are they framed, and what are we looking at here when we sort of, do we conjure the universe as we experience it? Quite possibly. But this sort of brings another idea into the fold, which is this idea of quantum mechanics may play a role at that level of brain interpretation of the world. It's fascinating, although a little nerdy, but that's okay. We're here for the weird stuff. So if you're still around, we're going to go into the next one, which is maybe a little more concrete and dark, and that is this wave of missing or dying scientists. So this comes straight from Newsweek, and I'm just going to paraphrase some of this article. Reports on online speculation raising questions about possible connection among a series of deaths and disappearances dating back several years, which lawmakers have described as suspicious. So this has gotten the attention of Congress and the legislators, and there's no confirmed link between the cases that they've been able to find, at least by the authorities. But it is a little much. It does beg the question, what's going on here? So included in those referenced are Michael David Hicks, who worked as a scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory from 98 to 2022. Another former JPL employee, Monica Reza, she led the lab's material processing group. She went missing while hiking in Cali in June 2025. She's never been found. February 2026, retired Air Force General William Neal McCausland was reported missing from his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He apparently left his home carrying a .38 revolver, and no one has ever found him. Reports also reference at least 2 other people from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory that are affiliated with Los Alamos National Laboratory. We've talked about that before. An MIT nuclear fusion scientist and pharmaceutical researcher and government contractor tied to nuclear weapons component facility who vanished. And so basically we have a situation where now the lawmakers are getting into this. The House Committee on Oversight and Reform announced it's seeking information from the Department of Energy, the Defense Department, the FBI, and NASA regarding these cases. So the question is, what have the federal authorities said? Well, last week, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt indicated that the Trump administration would investigate because these have been prompted by reporters' questions regarding the case. Multiple equities across Trump administration are involved in this, including FBI, DOE, DOW, and that would be the Department of Defense too. A White House official later told Newsweek. So this has gotten the attention of these lawmakers. It's a situation where a conspiracy theory has gone right up the chain of command as far as the White House, as a matter of fact. So it's interesting. Both the FBI and NASA have confirmed that they are also investigating these string of deaths and disappearances by high-level scientists. So I think I have a list here. Let me just cruise down and find. Okay, I do. So we're just going to go quickly through this list. Monica Reza, she was a Jet Propulsion Laboratory. She worked on government-funded rocket material projects overseen by McCausland, who is the man who disappeared. So there's a connection there. She was 60, last seen hiking June 22, 2025 in the Mount Waterman area of national forest in California. Once again, these national forests rearing their head with people disappearing. That's a whole show on its own. News Nation reported she was seen smiling and waving some 30 feet behind her hiking companion before she vanished. Terrifying. She was an aerospace engineer. She'd worked on high-strength and burn-resistant alloys with connections to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And Wright-Patterson Air Force Base been in the conspiracy news forever as, well, at least initially, the possible location for the aliens from Roswell. They say that's where they took them. And Wright-Patterson Air Force Base comes up a lot of times in a lot of sort of conspiracy lore as being a destination or a location of high strangeness. Then we move to Amy Eskridge. She is a scientist. She reportedly died 2022. Self-inflicted gunshot wound is a way to say that. So she had been investigating and attempting to develop anti-gravity technology, a method of manipulating or offsetting the effects of gravity. So that's unusual. She was from the University of Alabama in Huntsville, double major in chemistry and biology, and was quoted as saying, "If you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices if your head gets chopped off." That's very dramatic, but she was sort of co-founding this Institute for Exotic Science, a public-facing persona to disclose anti-gravity technology. So her self-inflicted death drew immediate scrutiny, but her father says it has nothing to do with her work and that, unfortunately, scientists also die. So Michael David Hicks, a 59-year-old longtime NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Are we seeing a trend here with the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He was a scientist there involved in asteroid and comet research, died July 2023, remembered in his obituary as an astronomer, artist, and a father. And he worked on the double asteroid redirection test, near Earth asteroid tracking project, something called the Dawn mission, and NASA's Deep Space One mission, and authored more than 80 peer-reviewed scientific papers. It doesn't really give his cause of death. A person named Carl Grillmar. Let's see. He worked for California Institute of Technology, so Caltech, their science and data center for astronomy. And interestingly enough, I think Caltech is where the Jet Propulsion Laboratory sort of had some of its start, at least parts of it. Anyway, I'm not going to go through every single one of these guys in any kind of detail, but just this article alone lists, let's see, 11. So 11 high-level scientists working on alternative energy and unique things have either died or disappeared. We also have David Wilcock, the UFO sort of personality, let's just say, who recently, that's a very strange story all of its own. So he sort of falls into this category. It's like scary time to be a scientist. I don't really know what to make of it. And the interesting thing to me is that now Congress has gotten involved, and NASA and the Department of Defense and high level, at least lawmakers, are looking into it, if not fully investigating it. So I don't know what they'll find. We're all going to wait with bated breath to see. So this moves us to our third story, a good one. Maybe I should have started with this one. Okay, anyway, this is a good one. It's kind of funny. OpenAI, that's the company that owns ChatGPT. So OpenAI engineers tell ChatGPT models to stop talking about goblins. This is from April 30th, 2026, an article by Liv McMahon, technology reporter for BBC. I'm just going to sort of paraphrase through this. So ChatGPT maker OpenAI had to instruct its AI tool to stop talking about goblins. That's Goblins, the little monsters, after finding the term had randomly and had crept into responses. In a blog on Thursday, the company said it spotted increased mentions of the mythical creature goblins in metaphors used by ChatGPT and other tools powered by its latest flagship model, GPT-5. After users and employees flagged problems being described as little goblins, OpenAI said it took steps to mitigate the issue, including telling its coding agent Codex to not refer to these problems as goblins. And they say it discovered that it had all of a sudden had developed a nerdy personality developed for ChatGPT and had unwittingly been incentivized to reward the mention of the word goblin. It's just crazy. This issue highlights the challenges AI firms face in tackling the potential for systems and their training to reward and reinforce errors like language quirks. So, users complain that the model began becoming overly familiar in conversation and resorting to verbal tics. Anyone who's ever used GPT knows that it has weird little things that can crop up. It does a lot of things. We covered it in our AI episode, maybe a little bit. Go back and look. So I guess the word goblin had increased 175% since GPT 5.1's launch. Meanwhile, they also found that the word gremlin had rose by 52%. A single little goblin in an answer could be harmless, even charming, but the uptick in the appearance across output warranted investigation. So the engineers had to tell ChatGPT, stop using the word goblin all the time. Those guys have their work cut out for them. So that leads us to the next story, which is scientists propose a radical new way to detect alien life without traditional biosignatures. So this is a cool article. It comes from SciTech Daily, and this was April 29, 2026. a novel framework suggesting that life might be revealed not by a single clue or discovery, but by subtle patterns spanning many planets, offering different lens for detecting life in the universe. So the study proposes a shift in the search for extraterrestrial life, moving away from looking for individual biosignatures and looking at large-scale planetary pattern. So if the clearest signs of life in the universe aren't found on a single planet, but hidden in patterns across many planets. That's the idea. Instead of focusing on one-off clues, the new study suggests scientists could detect life by examining how entire groups of planets compare and interact. This shift could open a new path for astrobiology when traditional signals are uncertain or misleading. So this is sort of an adjunct to looking for life in the universe in the traditional way. This comes to us from specially appointed Associate Professor Harrison B. Smith of the Earth Life Science Institute, that's ELSI, and this is the Institute of Science, Tokyo, and the specially appointed Associate Professor Lana Sinapayan of the National Institute for Basic Biology. Their work proposes a broader way to search for life beyond Earth. And the article goes on to explain this concept that life can terraform other planets, and in the process it makes the terraformed planet more similar to the parent planet. And so it's these sort of comparisons which may be an indication of intelligent life. So here's an example. Imagine that in the future we are able to travel the 25 million miles to Mars and terraform Mars and build it out and complete it. We would need things there that we have here. So air with oxygen in it, growing plants, we would need food, maybe livestock, greenhouses. So all of those things would logically make the hypothetical terraformed Mars more like Earth. So if you compare one to the other and you see these similar signatures, that could be an indication of intelligent life. So that does make sense. And it is a way to look at places that aren't necessarily another planet that's like Earth, which is sort of what we've done in the past, but look at another planet that's like another planet close to it, because the life on the other planet might be different than life on Earth. They might not breathe oxygen, so there's no reason to look for oxygen. They might breathe CO2, and I don't know. So anyway, to address these issues, the researchers explored the concept that life might reveal itself through combined effects across different planets. I don't know. It's very interesting. It's logical to me, and it makes sense. So there's this idea that there's a correlation between the planets that sort of like relate to each other and return certain signatures, and that correlation could expose the potential for life. So there's a few challenges here. Establishing a baseline to make it easy to recognize these changes or to know that they are caused by biological activity. The current results are based on simulations, and they provide a foundation for a new class of detection methods, but the researchers note that future studies will need to incorporate more detailed planetary data and improved models of what they call galactic dynamics. Even so, the work suggests that life might be detectable without knowing its exact chemistry by identifying the broader patterns it creates across the universe. So that's outstanding. That's a really cool article. Once again, SciTech Daily. You can sign up for their newsletter. You can follow them on Google and Google News. And you can just find them online at their website, scitechdaily.com. Great article. I love to see things moving ahead in a logical direction. We talk so much about aliens lately, but it's all just hyperbole. Oh, we're going to release the files. Okay. I don't know if you know, but they just released a bunch more Pentagon videos of... I think that's one of the stories that we're going to get to. Yeah, it is. So not to skip ahead. But anyway, this article is not that. This is scientists doing real science. Whew, refreshing. So it brings us to our next story, which is not exactly paranormal, but let's just say paranormal adjacent. So for the fans of paranormal, I guess arguably, this is kind of a cool one. This comes from Robin Smith at, did you know they were still around anymore? AOL.com. Man, yeah, AOL still around. So this article by Robin Smith was May 22nd, so yesterday. Breaking news here on Renegade Files. So this is, the headline is, a paranormal circus comes to Western New York. How cool is that? So this is the Paranormal Cirque Spectre. It's billed as theater, cabaret, and acrobatic with a paranormal twist. Dark circus act. I don't know exactly what they do. So this is sort of a short news story on my end. We do have a news clip from the local news leader channel number 4 in Cheektowaga. I'm not sure how you say that. That's in Western New York. So I'm just going to play that clip for us, and we're going to hear what they have to say. It's interesting.
In Cheektowaga tonight, the community got the chance to immerse themselves in a world of thrills, chills, and suspense. The Walden Galleria hosted the Paranormal Cirque Spectre show. Acrobats, illusionists, and daredevils took to the stage to wow eventgoers. The show's like a normal circus, but includes elements of a dark world inhabited by creatures who are willing to defy gravity for the sake of the show. We caught up with a host who says they're excited to bring the act to our area.
Our show has been on the West Coast for the past 3 years. So, we're going to be here tonight. It's a brand new show. Even if you've seen us before, you got to come check out what's new. We have brand new acts.
I look at it, it's cool. There's something new here.
This was the show's first time in Western New York, and if you missed tonight's spectacle, the show runs until Monday.
All right, cool. So once again, that's from Channel 4 in reporting from Walden Galleria in Cheektowaga. Or she said it, I don't know. You heard how she said it. So anyway, if you're from there or if you're in that area, go check it out. And that is from an article by Rachel Ross on AOL.com and the newsreel from Channel 4 used here under fair use for editorial and commentary purposes. Interesting. You know, what do you think? What do you think? You think that's cool? Would you go to a paranormal circus? I guess. Go check it out. See what it's like. If you do go, leave me a comment. All right, that brings us to the next story, which is, again, a paranormal adjacent story. It's a very interesting. So Paranormal Activity, that's the sort of film franchise, headed to Broadway this summer. This article from May 13, 2026. So if you're in Broadway, you can go check it out. So let's see here. This is once again where the reader view is messing me up. All right. So the horror movie franchise has a new live adaptation bringing supernatural suspense to the theater. Paranormal Activity headed to Broadway this summer. Producers say the show will feature an original story instead of recreating scenes directly from the film. So I think, let me just find when was that original film, because it kind of surprised me. Okay, Jason Blum, founder and CEO of Blumhouse and the original producer of the Paranormal Activity film franchise, will be part of the producing team. The original movie premiered in 2007. Whew. Man. So almost 20 years ago at this point. Does that make you feel old? You know, Paranormal Activity, where the whole movie is like a baby cam footage of a ghost coming into a room, and I don't know. I never really saw it. I do know about the movie because it was sort of a phenomenon. It was one of those sort of made to look like found footage horror films that rode in on the heels of Blair Witch Project and made a lot of money but didn't cost a lot of money to make. One of those things. Paranormal Activity. I think Paranormal Activity might hold the record for the highest profit margin of any movie ever. A lot of people think it was Blair Witch, but I think it was Paranormal Activity. It cost nothing and it made a fortune. Let's see. So anyway, they're going to bring the idea or the film franchise to Broadway This is following sold out shows of the same type in London, Chicago, LA, Washington, San Fran. Paranormal Activity, a new story live on Broadway, will begin performances at the August Wilson Theater in New York on Friday, August the 14th. So coming this summer. And that is an article from Yahoo Entertainment. I don't know. That's interesting. It's kind of cool. It sort of falls into that category of, are they running out of ideas in the entertainment world? Perhaps. And it brings us to our next story, which is Spectral Love, Supernatural February in Florida. This is an article by Brandy Stark, February 28th at Gabber or thegabber.com. And basically what's going on here is a lot of sort of weird things going on in Florida, supernatural stories in Florida. There's no shortage of them ever. I think we're number 2 in UFO sightings in the country, right behind California. A lot of that has to do with population density, and they say a lot of it has to do with being on the coast, surrounded by water. UFOs love their water. You know that if you listen to our episode on USOs. Go back and check that one out. Let's see here. There's this sort of fisherman near Buncis Pass Bridge. That's Fort DeSoto, Tampa Bay area. And it's Captain Bill Miller's Tampa Bay Triangle cites a handsome-looking fellow. They say he was killed in 1994 and that he continues to manifest with his fishing pole and everything, and he comes to the pier to talk to women, and then they turn around and he's gone. 2 versions. They say he's looking for one specific woman, the love of his life, or that he's playing the paranormal dating field, trying to hit on women from the other side. Either way, women who see him don't seem bothered by his flirting. No one really seems scared. He's been dubbed the flirty fisherman, and he's a ghost. Buncis Pass Bridge. I guess not a pier, a bridge people fish off of. It's weird, right? So the other one is another story from St. Petersburg. This is a paranormal investigative group called Spirits. St. Petersburg Paranormal Investigative Group. Is that a... If that's an acronym, it's not a good one. But anyway, they investigated Patty's and Friends Antique Mall. Antique malls are cool. You ever been in one? Basically, a lot of times they're in a warehouse or an old building, and they've divided it up into 100 different sections where different people put their antiques for sale. I guess that's a normal way to do. I'm not a huge antiques person. Maybe that's just a common thing. But we have a few around here, and I've been in a few of them. And I found a really cool copper cauldron in one, and I bought it for a song. Anyway, they're neat places, and they seem to always be kind of spooky and creepy. For us here in the uncharted tropics, they're not air conditioned because they're cheap, so they're hot, which makes them kind of weird. And sometimes they will be a little bit. I guess there's good and bad ones. Like I said, I'm not an expert. But anyway, in St. Petersburg, it seems to be one of these. It's called Patty and Friends Antique Mall, and it's haunted by a figure that they've nicknamed the Tinkerer because he seems to be fond of antique radios. The paranormal group Spirits of St. Petersburg says it's one of their favorite ghosts because he could lower the temperature in sections of the room upon request. That's funny, I hadn't read that, but it goes to my point that these antique malls are often not air conditioned. In fact, they said they do pop-up tours there, and several groups have witnessed the temperature dropping and seen shadowy figures of the Tinkerer. Ladies on the tour say that they feel a playful pinch or a hand stroking their hair when they're in this room with the radios. They're unable to determine who the man was in life, but he seems to be leaving a lasting impression. Very interesting. Then we move to the Amber Tides Motel. This is also in Clearwater, in Clearwater, that's the West Coast, Gulf Coast. There's a certain, an odd personification of what they call sexual energy. A few women have encountered this situation, and they describe they feel hands touching them, and they get this sort of feeling that something is close to them, and none of it can be explained. And multiple people have reported it. Let's see here. Go cruise. Oh yes, Legend of a Ghost Bride. Seen there. I guess she jumped from the 5th floor in despair when she found out that her fiance she was waiting for had perished in a car crash, causing her to end her own life, and now her sullen ghost is reportedly seen looking out of windows on the 5th floor, and people who stay on that floor have mysterious cold spots in their rooms or in the hallways, and have seen fleeting glimpses of the ghost bride. And that's about it. That's it for those stories. Those are just sort of like Brandy Stark giving us some sort of supernatural love stories. Love is in the spooky air. I don't know. Interesting, fun to read. I'm always a sucker for a haunted location. I've done a few ghost hunting shows with Agent Sheila Stone, and you know what? We didn't set out to just only do that. I think she and I would like to do other things, but that's sort of been our forte so far. And I've been staying up until the late hours of the morning watching old episodes of Ghost Hunters with taps going way back to 2005 and 6, and then those series. And they're good. I don't know. They're fun. And it's sort of giving me this ghost hunter bug again. And we talked about doing St. Augustine. That's going to come up. We're going to wait for the weather to cool down a little bit now that we missed it last winter. But now we're in the heat of coming up into summer. You don't want to be, I don't know, it's a free country. But, it's funny in Florida, we talk about the summertime cold. And I mentioned this to someone the other day, and they said that's because the cold and flu season is associated with the winter up north, but why is it that we have summer colds, down in Florida? And this person I was talking to, she said the cold season isn't really about the temperature of the air or winter or summer. It's about being cooped up inside. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I never thought about it. That the reason we get colds in the summer in Florida is because we're all inside, because it's so hot. We're in the AC. We stay inside. And the reason they get colds up north is because it's so freezing cold. They're all inside all winter. And I don't know if there's any scientific studies that may prove or disprove that, but it did make a lot of sense to me. So take your vitamin C and get your exercise and get outside, even if it's summertime in Florida. You do not want that summer cold. I don't know how I got off on that. So anyway, that brings us to our next story. And before I jump into that, I want to say, you can help me keep doing these shows. Jump into our Patreon page. There's a link in the show notes. And you can sign up for any tier for free for a whole week. And that whole week gives you access to the stuff that tier gets you. All of them give you the bonus episodes and the Dark Intel files, which is all the research for every episode, and bonus episodes that I make for you, and behind the scenes stuff. And I'm constantly working on new shows for the Patreon feed. So go in there and check it out. Look at the Dark Intel files for an episode that you like. I know I beat that drum a lot on the last 2 episodes because those were the World's Fairs, Tartaria, unlikely timeline of the construction and destruction of the World's Fairs, and a picture is worth 1,000 words, so go check it out. But regardless, even if you did that, I would love to see you on the RFA agency and Patreon. It makes a huge difference to me. It costs just a tiny bit, and it helps me keep doing the show. So if you can help a brother, help a brother. Help a creator create, and help me remain independent. That brings us to the next story, which is, I mentioned it earlier, the Pentagon releases second batch of UFO videos and first-hand testimony. This comes from The Guardian, and this same story is all over the internet right now, so you don't have to go there. You can find it in multiple places. I use this information here from Richard Luscombe. That's The Guardian author, and this is all fair use for editorial purposes. I'm not going to read his article word for word, but the basic gist of it is, on Friday last, the Pentagon released their second collection of videos and documents and unidentified aerial phenomenon, essentially UFOs, answering very few questions about the existence of alien life, but fueling what has quickly become a ratings winner for the White House. So The first reveal earlier this month was 162 files of previously secret or rarely seen accounts, more than 1 billion hits on the government website set up to house them. I am one of those. According to the press release, let's see here. Friday, this is from the Department of Defense. This release goes back decades, a further 50 videos and documents, likely from infrared sensors and sort of like a lot of the same sort of, if you're familiar with the Tic Tac, Go Fast, and Gimbal, a lot of this looks exactly like that. One of them that I saw that looks really cool is from above. They're videoing. It looks like that FLIR type of infrared night vision type video where you see two boats going really fast, across the surface of the ocean. I'd guess they're going 70 or 80 miles an hour, maybe faster. They look like drug running boats. A lot of times, those drug running boats run close together so that they show up as one radar signature. So if anyone's looking for them, they only think it's one craft. And then when they get to shore, they split up. So it confuses the man, as it were. I think we mentioned that in our Who Killed Don Arano episode, which was about the guy who built the cigarette offshore powerboats. He also built Donzi and Magnum, and he died in very suspicious circumstances. I don't think it was ever solved. And that's a great episode. It's super cool. Go back and listen to it, particularly those of you who are into like true crime stuff, because it's fascinating and it's unsolved. And, that guy was quite a character. Sort of a hero of mine as a kid growing up in South Florida and looking for anything to do with fast boats. Don Arano was a legend. And he died under very freaky circumstances, so go back and check out that episode, Who Killed Don Arano. I don't remember the number. Let's look it up real quick so I can give you the real info. Episode 27. Oh my gosh. Man. Episode 27? So, that's kind of cool. 100 episodes ago. Who Killed Don Arano, episode 27. Seems like yesterday. Go check it out. All right. So the point is that the Pentagon and the Department of Defense has released another group of UFO videos. Now, there's a little bit of weirdness going on here. There's a bunch of clips and a few nefarious characters. Okay, I shouldn't say that. A few popular people buzzing in on their giving their opinion, their little two cents worth or what have you. So anyway, we have Wally Schirra. He was the only astronaut on the Mercury Atlas 8, orbited the Earth 6 times, 1962, told Mission Control he saw little white objects. But then it turns out that these were pieces of ice that were coming off the capsule itself, and everyone knew that, but they sort of included that in here. So anyway, there's other things going on like that. So famous astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson on his YouTube channel said that this release of UFO footage from this newest release from the powers that be, he says is, quote, a little misleading because they included some NASA files, or the NASA files are going to be included, and that basically everything that they're going to release from NASA is already publicly available, and that throwing them in there, Neil deGrasse Tyson just basically says it's like it confuses the issue, right? And I would agree. He says in the history of science, the correct explanation has never been magic or aliens, and he's sort of a anti-alien guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Seems like, what is he? Just don't take my word for it. What is his quote here? Tyson said aliens are, quote, kind of low on my list as an explanation for unidentified flying objects. Okay, thank you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. But anyway, the point is, if you would like, you can go and you can dig through this new release. But the best of it is the boat one, and then there's a million that are just like nothing, like lights. It's just, I don't know. I get very frustrated with the government's disclosure, as it were. It drives me nuts. because it's a bunch of build up and then it's a release and then it's nothing. And they've done it over and over again. It's like the boy who cried wolf at this point. I'm going to believe it when they walk out an alien on, and even then with AI, how are we ever going to know? You know what? I was saying this to my friend the other day. Early on in this sort of disclosure movement, I said that the goal of this big government disclosure of UFOs and alien life was not to tell us what's going on, but to remove that conversation from the deep independent researcher and put it into the boring congressional hearings and lawmaker quips and talking heads of the mainstream news. And guess what? They've successfully done that. I was trying to go through all of this and read some of these documents on the current disclosure movement. I was going to make a whole show about that, and I was just exceedingly bored by the whole thing. And I thought to myself, wow, they actually did it. They finally made UFOs boring. Congratulations, mainstream media and big government. You took the UFO thing and you made it uncool. I'm never going to give up. I'm still going to be searching. I'm still going to be looking. Matter of fact, I saw something really weird in the sky last night when I was driving home. It was maybe 11 o'clock and coming back. And, I thought, what is that? You get that feeling. You're like, whoa, what's that? That's weird looking. And a lot of times it'll turn. You'll say, oh, it's a plane. Well, this didn't look like a plane, and it was a really weird shape. It was, imagine... The best way I could describe it is, imagine if you had, that thing you dip soup out of, well, I guess a Big Dipper, but I'm not talking about the Big Dipper. I'm talking about like what's it called? A ladle. So imagine if you took a ladle and you turned it on its side so that the big bulbous part was on the left and then the handle went out to the right. It was a light that was shaped like that. And the handle part, to use my description, it wasn't solid. It was made up with a bunch of points of light. And it was not the size of like a group of stars. I mean, something flying in the sky. And I watched it for a while. As I was driving, it was ahead of me and the top of my windshield. And I even, when I came to a stop at a light, was able to roll down my window and sort of look out with my head out the window to get a glimpse of it, not looking through the windshield. Because my thought was maybe the glass is distorting something normal, like a plane or whatever. But it looked the same without looking through the glass. And then it just sort of vanished. And I never saw what it was. I never saw a plane in the area. And I have no idea. I'm not saying it was a spacecraft with alien driving it, but it was something that I couldn't identify in the sky. So, and that happened to me just last night. So I'm always on the search. I'm always looking. It's just that I kind of have a disgust with these big governments and bureaucracies and their version of disclosure, which is a lot of talk and not a lot of walk. Let's just put it that way. All right, so that brings us to our final story on this episode, which is CIA document revives mystery of hidden chambers beneath Egypt's Great Sphinx. All right, so this was just a couple days ago, May 12th, 2026. Comes to us from a source called mycharisma.com. And just a little news blog. A resurfaced Cold War era CIA document is reigniting worldwide fascination with one of archaeologists' oldest mysteries, what lies beneath the Great Sphinx of the Plain of Giza. So the renewed attention comes after this. This is a 1952 CIA archive document, and it references the, quote, temple under the Sphinx, while cataloging photographic negatives from Egypt. So this is back in 1952. The document itself appears to be a routine inventory rather than an intelligence briefing, but the unusual wording has fueled speculation surrounding this legendary, what conspiracy researchers have called the Hall of Records, supposedly a hidden library underneath the Sphinx. And it says that like the man knows about it, but they won't let the plebeians check it out. From the article, it says it's intensified amid recent claims that researchers have used synthetic aperture radar, or SAR technology, to scan beneath the pyramids and the surrounding Giza plateau, and that underneath the Sphinx they found massive vertical shafts, spiral staircases, and interconnected underground structures. These researchers suggest the findings could point to a vast subterranean network beneath not only the Sphinx but the pyramids, and that this legendary Hall of Records could be connected to this site. Hidden chambers beneath the Giza is not new. In the 1990s, seismic studies and ground-penetrating radar found underground anomalies near the Sphinx, though mainstream archaeologists disputed the claims that they represented artificial chambers or man-made chambers. The Hall of Records legend is most closely tied to Edgar Cayce, who claimed in 1930 that there were hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx. We talked about Edgar Cayce in our Atlantis episode. And that those chambers contained ancient records from Atlantis, timely, and lost civilizations. Not everyone is convinced that this new radar is credible. So there's two sides to the fence, of course. And guess who? Who's one of the people that doesn't believe that it's credible? Our old friend Zahi Hawass, veteran Egyptologist who run afoul of the law and is featured in our first pyramid episode, the construction of the pyramids. Go back and check that one out. One of my favorites. A lot of math and a lot of logic discrediting the official narrative there. Renegade Files, classic. The pyramid one. Don't you love how I give you the tech terms there? Let's see. So, okay. So this, I'm going to pull up this actual article and or document rather from the CIA. And, you know, if you've listened to the show since the beginning, you know that nothing excites me more than an old CIA document with its redactions and typewriters and scribbles. And anytime I can read something like that, it's always fun. So there's a few things, well, a few. This is a list of, let's see, 33 things, but it's like some of them skip around. But anyway, number 15 is right there in black and white. Temple Under the Sphinx, July 1950. This is sort of an inventory of black and white negatives, and this document is a list of those negatives. We don't have those negatives, I don't think. I think we just have this document that's describing them. Wouldn't it be cool if we have a black and white negative of a temple under the Sphinx? You know, that could be a few things. That could be a temple like south of the Sphinx and not necessarily underground under the Sphinx. That is possible. But anyway, the Cold War era document recently showed up, and it sort of reignited these topics of is there or is there not something below the Sphinx. So that's going to bring us to the end of our Unscripted from the Edge Paranormal News Today episode. There was some cool stuff in there, right? I hope you had fun listening to that. And I do want to mention one more time before I let you go. Be cool and go check out the Renegade Files store. There's a link in the show notes. There's a link at therenegadefiles.com. And you can go check out all the products and grab some Renegade Files merchandise. I love the new shirts. I hope you do too. And you can get a poster, you can get a pint glass, coffee mug, t-shirt. You just got to see it, man. I hope you like it and let me know if you do. So anyway, thank you again for listening. We're going to wrap this one up. Be sure to subscribe or follow the show wherever you're listening right now so we can meet here again next time and explore the deepest covert stories of UFOs, aliens, hauntings, cryptids, conspiracy theories, and unsolved mysteries. If you want to help me keep doing this, become an RFA agent today. So until our next adventure, I'm your host, Lex Gordon. Stay wild, time travel child.